Hey everyone, this week we're giving away the excellent World War III Team Yankee starter set from store.ontabletop.com. To have your chance of winning, make sure you drop a comment down below, like this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So grab a brew, sit back and relax, and get ready for some awesome tabletop gaming news, some epic Kickstarters, some truly fantastic 3D stuff, and the most indie of indies of the week. Yes, the weekend starts now. Hey everyone, welcome to another Weekender. I'm Lloyd, and this week I'm joined by Ben to my side somewhere. We've got Jerry down below, and we've got Free as well.
Hi everybody.
How is all keeping, peeps?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
All up for another weekend of mayhem.
Exactly. I can't wait for the puns that are going to come out of this one. There seems to be more and more every week. So.
I love
Who
it.
knows? Who knows what'll come up? Who knows?
I know. I am betting that Caesar will come out with a picture at some point with Lloyd with his mug just looking.
He might not. He might not. Planted that seed. So it's a good prize this week, peeps. The Team Yankee starter set. That
Very
ties
much
in
so.
well with what's been going on recently with Team Yankee, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we're doing some really good stuff over the last week. On Monday, we caught up and did our own series of videos where we're looking at the book for the new West Germans in Team Yankee World War III, and also we did a miniatures chat as well, where Justin and John, back by popular demand, went through the miniatures of the starter set and started tinkering around and thinking about army lists and all sorts of different things. This was all on the back of the live launch for the West Germans last weekend from the folks at Battlefront in a land down under, far away. But we followed up on the Monday and did some awesome videos as well. So if you're interested in learning more about the West Germans, we've got 2 bumper videos for you to go and check out there, which are very, very cool indeed.
If you want to see the prime example of what your teacher always said in school, that you'll not always have a calculator and you need to add, then you can see that as well in one of the videos.
Yes. Learning maths through the medium of tanks.
With John and Justin.
Yeah.
12, 72, 12T, 9. What was the number again?
Yeah.
Speaking of cool things, we're going to have a cool week next week. We're going to have Stargrave Week here on Tabletop. We're going to be taking you through some Let's Plays. We've got interviews with the writer. Yep. We've got unboxings and all sorts of stuff coming up. I think we've got a painting tutorial too.
We do,
So
yeah.
Lots of things to look forward to. But we also have prizes.
So we're going to be giving away one of each of the 3 new plastic box sets that came out for the game. So you've got your crew, your mercenaries, and your troopers. And as you can see here, wherever you decide to plonk a comment, or on all 3 perhaps as well if you wanted to, you may be in the chance of winning both one of the box sets and also a book at the same time. So you've got options for YouTube, on tabletop, and also you've got another sort of stint at it with the Cult of Games membership as well, which is very awesome.
Especially if you're looking to get into it, one of those box sets is enough to get you 2 crews.
Pretty much.
So you can just hammer straight in there with a friend. You don't need to get anything else. There's enough to be going on with.
Which one's your favorite? Because we're giving away
Mercenaries. I will stop you there now.
Why?
Mercenaries.
Why the mercenaries?
Because you can make a chimp with a gun.
I knew it was that. I just wanted to confirm.
I'm a simple man with simple tastes in life.
I quite like the crew set. I think the crew set's pretty good, especially if you're going for something a little bit more Firefly-esque and that kind of thing. But all of the sets can be mixed matched with the stuff from Frostgrave and everything as well. So if you want to tinker around, you can definitely do that as well.
Yeah, you do Space Cultist or pick up something weird and wacky like one of the Snake Men sets.
Yeah.
And have a whole
the Ghost
bunch
Archipelago stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then just have a whole bunch of
That would be awesome.
space
Oh my
snakes.
God.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
The
So
snake.
the Snake Men.
The snake ship could be called the SS Viper.
Just
there we go.
lots of S. Oh yeah. You're
I mean,
painting
you
a picture already.
You got the first one in before, Lloyd.
I did, yeah.
You know. Strike while the iron's hot. Huh?
Yeah.
These are all North Star sets we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you just head over here, there is a Stargrave section
Yep.
in the menu somewhere.
That'd
Because
be
it's
right down the bottom.
so big.
Alphabetical.
We've got Osprey there.
Alphabetized.
Oh, there, Stargrave. So you can get the box sets there, you can get the book there. You can also go over to Osprey's website to get the book. But the other sets and stuff, like if you zero in on Frostgrave, like stuff there, you could mishmatch in with it as well.
So you have space dogs if you want to go gnolls and that kind of thing as well. So,
it's true.
That's a good idea.
Space barbarians,
especially because there are
just stick space in front of everything.
Yeah, there are things you can stumble across when you're playing Stargrave, including primitives.
Yeah.
So, having a few spear wielding aliens is handy to have anyway.
That's it. And if you have no money at all, just go to the kitchen, grab some spuds, and stick them on the table, and you've got space buds. Eh? Awesome stuff. End of the week time. What have we got? What's coming up? What's juicy this week?
Right, I've got pick of the indie of the week this week, and you know what I love to see when I head over Kickstarter, and it's not a publisher seal or it's not a giant games company. It's a name, and a name that somebody's put their own brainchild into a Kickstarter to create something magical. And so last year I came across an independent games designer called Ethan. And I found out that Ethan through Kickstarter. So last July, Garden of the Giants was up for the first time, but it sadly didn't get funded. But the idea of a Garden of the Giants beyond captivated me. So the Kickstarter was based on children's literature, combining whimsical characters from the likes of Wind of the Willows, ready to explore the corners of a magical garden. Yeah. Right, so as I said before, what originally drew me to these games was Garden of the Giants. So I'm delighted to say that it's back up on Kickstarter. So Garden of the Giants Returned, it's called, and it's been fully funded and some. So you can pick it up and have a pretty hard copy as well. But the rest of Ethan's games that he does, Ethan runs off his blog, SuperRobotBear. He's got loads of different types of RPGs. So there's loads of different RPGs. And some of them are card drafting, and they are all printable to play at home. So aside from the Kickstarter at the minute, when they are doing a hard copy, this indie specifically is online, and you can pay to the designer and print and download them there. So one last chance there. Go on.
So I see 3 links here. So this is his current games then.
Yeah.
So we've got One Last Chance. One Last Fight, I believe, is another one.
Yeah.
And then we've got this other one, Gobs of the Gobs.
Gobs of the Gobs.
Gobs of the Gobs. So
we
start with One Last Chance then.
So One Last Chance is actually a successor to the other game, which is One Last Fight. So
we'll start there then.
Let's start there. It's card drafting game, but it's an RPG. So it's by cards. You do not need a GM. So for me,
that's cool.
This is why I look at this. It's you're posing questions as you draw. And it's a whole experience and adventure through the card drafting. And I really love that because it is print and play. For me, someone who's getting into RPGs at the moment, it's great for me to kind of get into the mechanics and stuff that I might get asked throughout a game, different scenarios, helping me build as such. And it is just, I can't stress enough that it's in dollars. It's $9.99, and I think that works out something like £6.
That's pretty good.
All downloadable, printable, and you can play it yourself. So it's really, really cool.
The thing that I quite liked about that, I assume that a lot of the artwork that's done by this is either done by Ethan or he, commissions work as well, I would imagine. But I love the style of a lot that's been done for this. And I think the really nice thing about this one in particular, this One Last Fight, and that kind of idea of asking questions is something that I think a lot of people struggle with when it comes to diving into a role-playing game for the first time, is when someone says, "What do you do?" And you go, Whereas if you've got something like that, which has lots of these different prompts for you, you can dive into something like One Last Fight, as you say, and play through that adventure. And then when it comes to doing like a big full-fledged RPG, you'll have a little bit more of a guideline as to how you go forward and stuff. Yeah. But I like that it's not just a set of prompts effectively. It's actually a game built into that as well, with proper mechanics and everything as well. So yeah, really cool. Yeah.
And the good thing is with all of these games that are up, you don't need to buy anything. You've got your paper, your pen, your paper, your dice. Everything you need is what you'd have in your toolkit anyway. It's just you're downloading the story and downloading the game as such, just to kind of get used to it. And it's a really nice thing to do.
Yeah. So Roll20 have a let's play of it as well. So I've just flipped over there to have a quick look. So, like you say,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so they've done like a digital let's play of it.
So each of the characters is represented by cards.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other thing, and then you've got the encounters that you go into on the way as well. That's really awesome. I really like that. Yeah.
It's a really interesting one. And as I said, I've not seen anything like this before. And I really do appreciate when indie designers do release stuff to be printed at home, and it's not necessarily stuffed in this massive box and here you go, this is going on your shelf, this is the next biggest thing. This is something that you can play at home. But the One Last Chance is the successor to that, so it's similar in ways, but card drafting, more cards, and use of your dice as well. But the current campaign that's on at the minute, Garden of the Giants, has come back. So this, as I said, it looks absolutely beautiful. And I am beyond delighted that this has been funded. I am beyond delighted.
As am I. I am quite liking the look of this for many reasons.
It's the same. That's just the dude himself.
Yes, I presume so.
Yeah.
Interesting thing is, because I'm having a quick look through all of the games he does.
Yeah.
And very few of them seem to use the same system. So it's not just, I have come up with this system and I will now reuse the system. So his murder mystery adventure Sleuths is a D20 system. Yep. This, you can download I assume it's a beta version of the rules, but it seems fairly comprehensive anyway. And that uses the full set of RPG polyhedrals. The only thing they really have in common is the GM-less aspect of it. Which is nice.
Is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As you said, Terry, each individual game is different. It's all focusing around RPG aspects and stepping into the role, but they're all different versions, and all fundamentally the fact that you can play them at home and download them. And as well, as I said,
downloading as we speak.
You are downloading the promo.
There you go, 24 pages of RPG goodness.
Yeah, so the illustrator is Ethan as well.
Amazing.
There you go. So that's good. Yeah. So he does all the work from start to finish, basically, at that point. That's really good.
It's what I loved about this is that it's the creativity behind it. It's a one-man band. It's the guy that's taking this at home, putting it into Kickstarter, and I really do appreciate the creativity that's gone into it, the different game systems. Absolutely celebrate as an indie designer.
Yeah.
What's really Gobs of Gobs then?
Gobs of Gobs. Have you found Gobs of Gobs yet, Lloyd?
Oh yes.
Oh, what do you think of the little goblins?
Lovely. He's got one of those.
Goblin isn't the goblin sweet?
I think he's got one of them.
Rosy, look at the goblin's feet
behind him. Isn't that what he's got up in his video?
There was a goblin behind him on the shelf.
Snowy goblin.
Yeah. But he's also, as I said, he's produced loads of other RPG games like Gobs of Gobs, where players just take the role of goblins within the goblin community. So the great thing is about these is you can download the rules, the scenarios, the character sheets. Everything is there when you do go to pay for them. And it's not a fixed price as well. If you do really enjoy the game, you can pay the price for it as well. And you can add a bit, £1, £2, just to support the designer as well.
Are you planning on gobbling them up?
Gobbling them up. No, but I do plan on visiting Garden of the Giants, though, without doubt.
I really like these kind of smaller indie style RPGs because it does one of the things that I think maybe, well, I don't think we've lost, but I think has been sort of maybe diminished over the last couple of years, where we've effectively seen, and there's nothing essentially wrong with it, suppressed, a lot of more bespoke systems have been kind of suppressed, as you say, by 5e dominating thing, and there's nothing wrong with 5th edition. It's a great system, it's fantastic to see it back, and it's been a resurgence of role-playing games. But I really like games especially role-playing games, where they have very bespoke mechanics that work for that game and that world and what you're trying to create.
Yeah.
So you've got that really awesome kind of, with One Last Fight, that almost sort of dungeon delving, pressing your luck with the card play and that kind of thing, and the card drafting, which I think sounds really good. Mm-hmm. And I love that it looks like Garden of the Giants has gone that sort of like really in depth to that kind of weird, whimsical thing as well, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And
I also noticed that Ethan does community copies.
Community copies, he does.
Which are currently all claimed, but if people are interested in getting stuff and throw them a couple of extra dollars, it means then there's versions available for free for people who don't have the spare cash to chuck at them, which is always nice.
Those sorts of people that need to use spuds to play Stargrave.
That type of thing. Yeah.
Get your spuds on the table.
Are you talking about like Charlotte sort of potatoes, the very small ones? Or
That's it.
Big Maris Pipers, big Navin ones.
You can have the big potatoes for the big beasties to fight at the end.
You can show wounds by shaving bits off them as well. There you go. I quite like the fact that this is just that one-man band thing as well. Yes. I think that's really cool. We don't get enough of those. I think, a couple of months ago, I think it was, sort of March time, we got to see that massive, zine quest they did on Kickstarter, where loads of people banded together to create lots of individual sort of encounters and role-playing games that were all done in like 3 or 4 pages and stuff on the system. But we don't see that enough, I don't think, on Kickstarter nowadays. I think it's fairly dominated, as you said at the beginning, by big publishers and that kind of thing. But so with the other stuff being print and play, is the Garden of the Giants Returns, is that an actual physical product that you're buying?
You can get the physical copy, So you can, there is the option to get the downloadable print and play one, but you can get the hard copy if you choose to opt into.
Yeah, because the hard copy will look amazing based
look gorgeous.
Based on flicking through this PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the hard copy comes out looking like that, it looks like a one.
I love the artwork. Yeah, it's really good layout as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Some things a lot of people mess up on when it comes to rule books and that kind of thing is layout, and having the right amount of text on pages and right images, enough images is something that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, especially in the wargaming sort of sector, they fall foul of, here is a big page of text and nothing else, or here's a big page of text and an image on another page. You can do fancy things where you kind of mix them both together. Cool.
But no, very awesome. I really like that. So it's Ethan, SuperRobotBear. Very cool. Nice to have it. It's like a proper indie. Oh my god, like literally one person. I think they've also got a blog, an itch.io as well. I think that you can go and check out too.
Well, they're on itch.io. Assuming that's how.
Oh yes, because they're hosted on itch.io and then they've got the blog as well. Yeah.
And if you're across at the right hand side of the screen, there's a related games bit, and if you click on that, it will then bring up other people who are also on itch.io.
That's awesome.
So do RPGs. So you can go down the indie rabbit hole there.
Perfect.
So here's his WordPress site, and then here's this itch.io thing coming up.
Look, there's even a Viking styled 5th edition thing as well there.
Oh, is there? Where's that at?
Yeah, look, the North Sea Saga. Yeah, so.
Oh, well, it's Saga for a start, so that's a good...
It's got your favourite word in it.
Saga by another name, I think.
Yeah. But that one's based with 5th edition as well. But as I said, the main reason I really appreciate seeing the one-man band side of things, I really, really do, because they get lost so easily. They do in between the waves that are Kickstarter. It just So for such a fantastic designer, it definitely deserves to be celebrated.
Wicked.
Sweet. Interesting indie of the week. But next up, it's the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
So loads of awesome news from this week in wargaming and tabletop goodness. So we start off with 1898 Miniaturas, who we have looked at in the past before, but they are back with a fantastic new set of 28mm miniatures for those people that want to dive into playing as the French Foreign Legion on the tabletop. So if, like me, you want to be friends with Connor and Benny and go gallivanting in Egypt from the start of The Mummy, then you can do so, because they have put together a set of really awesome new miniatures for that period of sort of around the 1900s, start of the 1900s, where you're playing as the French Foreign Legion on the tabletop. This is a very awesome new set from these guys, all metal miniatures, which is fantastic. Yep. You can get a selection of different packs. So you've got firing options, marching, skirmishing, and also patrolling troops as well. So however you want to set them up in your games, be them as part of a mass battle force or maybe as individual squads on the tabletop, you can definitely do so. Really fantastic sculpting, once again, from those folks over at 1898 Miniaturas. And loads of character baked into all of the miniatures that we're seeing here, which is very cool to see.
I wonder what scale these are in terms of like how big or tall they are. Could you mix these in with the Les Grognard stuff from Wargames? Wargames Atlantic.
Wargames Atlantic. They won't be as chunky.
Yeah.
Because I do have a selection of their pike and shot figures, so they're about the same size as Footsore for scaling.
So fairly robust at any rate. So so you can either get them, as I was saying, as part of these individual packs as you're seeing here.
When you say fairly robust, kind of small, if you were thinking of doing like alternative 40k army type stuff, they're a bit small for that then.
Yeah, they wouldn't work for that, but they'd be a nice metal suit for pretty much any of the historical ranges out there. This is my favorite set. Really love this one, the skirmishing one.
Say skirmishing,
very cool. Yeah.
Excellent. You just need a bunch of Algerians.
Yes.
coming out of the desert on camels and horses and attacking.
I really like the different. They don't seem like copies. There's loads of different poses. There's loads of different heads. There's loads of individual uniqueness about them.
You can also get yourself a premium collection set, which comes with all of the miniatures that are available as of now, which is based on the Beau Geste books and TV series from back in the annals of history during the 1900s.
You mean the period, not the TV series? Because I watched the TV series when I was a kid.
That's pretty sweet. All of that for €47.
Yeah, and you get that special character, special miniature as well, based on one of the brothers from the show. I would imagine, because I was doing a little bit of reading about it. It seems like a really awesome little book series, and I think it's like there's a film that's generally considered the best one is the 1930s version of it. I think it is.
That's the Gary Cooper one. Yeah,
because apparently the 1960s one changes loads and nobody liked it, whereas the 1930s one was a very cool.
I'm trying to remember which one is. Cooper bridged that gap, so I can't imagine he would have been in the 60s one, mind you.
But it's from a book series from the early 1900s, which is cool. So, late 1900s. But
the TV series was particularly good. If anybody can find that, I think it was a BBC one. Memory serves. I used to watch it after Sherlock Holmes. But it was really nice. It was just a little one-shot mini-series just about the
very cool
book, which is just 3 brothers signed up and joining the fray, and really nice figure, especially if you're planning on playing. Because even you could probably shoehorn them into World War One fairly convincingly. The outfits and equipment is about right, and because the Foreign Legion took anyone. You've got some really interesting things. So like the most American fighters who signed up when they were still neutral in sort of 1914 ended up joining the French Foreign Legion because they didn't worry about what nationality you were. It was always a mixed bag.
Yeah. As I say, you don't have to play historicals with it either. You can play as O'Connor and Benny, and you can go hunting mummies in the desert. So
go Philly Pulp. Yeah. Definitely.
Benny, you're on the wrong side of the river.
Oh, great. So that was 1898 Miniaturas. Am I saying that right? Miniaturas. That's like Spanish for miniatures then, is it?
Yes.
Miniaturas.
Nice and easy. Yes.
See the smarts there? That's my university education kicking in.
Nice.
What's up next, peeps?
I headed over to the emergency room for me. So Rush MD from Artipia Games it takes place into a high stress environment. So 1 to 4 players are required to work collaboratively, okay? Not against each other, collaboratively. Treat loads of different patients as if you're in your own well-oiled team of doctors. So players will be put under pressure of time constraints, working closely with a lovely hourglass, counting seconds down of time to failure whilst the life of the patient is in your hands. Don't know about you guys, but timed stuff freaks me out. I'm usually put in an absolute frenzy because I forget that I have to actually do something instead of watching sand go through an hourglass. But it's a real life incorporation of egg timers is one way sure to freak me out, but why I just get panicked and I start paying more attention to how long I have left rather than paying attention to the game. But because the game is collaborative, it takes off a bit of the pressure as you start tending to the patients as well.
This is interesting as well.
Oh, the syringes.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
So
there's loads of different
your
stuff.
Tokens and stuff in there. That's just going to freak me right out.
But the players take the role on as a doctor and the nurses here and there and like a well-equipped medical centre, unlike no other. So the place is kitted out to deal with a range of different types of ailments, starting the process from admitting the patient, diagnosing them and treating them. So I do expect to actually treat them. I don't think there is an option to pass prescribed medicine. There you go. Here is your prescription. But each task will need to be passed on to the next person and you'll need to work together to ensure that your patient is in and out before the timer runs out. So
very cool.
It is pretty cool.
No pandemic expansion in the works.
I know that Artipia did Kitchen Rush as well beforehand, which is very much like there's a video game where you all have to be chefs to try and cook food at the same time kind of thing. And it's very, very fun, but very frantic. I played Kitchen Rush a couple of years ago at Essen, and my God, it was a stressful environment. So I can't imagine how it's going to be ramped up with one that's based around a surgery room and a...
There's not enough time. Just wheel them into the corridor and leave them.
Where does his heart go?
This is exactly what... So I've got this on pre-order at the moment, and this is going to be a board game that I'm getting my partner involved in. Why? Because we played Overcooked. Do you know
That's
Overcooked?
That's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
Overcooked not long back, and we were bitter afterwards. We were vile.
It was just a partnership ruiner.
It was, and I was just telling him that he didn't chop his tomatoes fast enough, and he was having a go at me that I didn't have a plate quick enough, and I could see this going the exact same way. The fast-paced ticking does emulate the chaos of an emergency room as well, which I quite like, and using the hourglasses are the worker placement, so you use those as where you're going. Both the doctor and the nurse. Yeah, which
and
is
then what, you
cool.
tip it over for like their lengths of kind of have to do that particular task?
Yeah. So you've got the round only lasts 4 minutes and there's 4 rounds to a game. So there's going to be a nice 16-minute frenzy when I play for sure. But we all know I'm definitely going to give this because it is 1 to 4 players. I'm going to give this a solo go to pro it before I can to stress out. At least I can be into control of it. So there are like surgical procedures as well, and then that the doctors do, and the nurses need to provide the equipment for the patient to be healed up. There's a lot going on, and you've not got long to do it. But I can imagine it is going to be a lot of fun.
Always adding time bounds into games changes them massively.
Yeah,
and you really see people just. Well, like you say, freaking out whenever the timer's running down. It's really interesting because it changes the dynamic of a game. If people have infinite amount of time to think about their turn, there's a lot of head scratching and what if I do? Well, perhaps. And that can suck the life out of a game very quickly. But whenever you add something like this in,
no analysis paralysis here.
You got to go and there's none of the, was that the best move I could have made? It was like, that was the move I'm making, and now it's on to you.
Nothing beats for me the frantic nature of these kind of games, because there's one called Escape, Curse of the Temple, where you have to roll dice to get through rooms and then run through each room. And in the background, there's a DVD playing, a CD playing a soundtrack. And when like you hear a drum beat, you have to, like get out of rooms quickly before you get into the other ones. But dice lock with various symbols as you're rolling them. And I have never seen someone more stressed than when all of their dice were locked, bar one, and they're rolling frantically going, just be a bloody monkey.
This one, though, could be cool for like a bit of role play as well at this period of time, because you could have your mates around and you could all be wearing your
masks on.
Oh, yeah.
And you have your wee tub of sanitizer in the middle of it. You just keep sanitizing as you play.
It's actually the perfect game for you, Lloyd.
Get a light down over the top on a magnifying glass and things like that. Be awesome.
But
You're doing all your safety gear as part of the game.
This is just your excuse to come in wearing scrubs, isn't it? Gloves, just
every day is like that. I'm gonna be like Michael Jackson soon. Oh.
But yeah, looks really interesting, and it's definitely, if you are looking at getting this game, it's definitely going to cause some arguments without a doubt. But that's all the best fun of it. That is all the best fun of it.
Moving on, we've got some stuff coming out of Mantic that looks pretty sweet.
They have put a host of stuff up for pre-order from their TerrainCrate range. So Mantic have been quietly building up possibly one of the most comprehensive selections of terrain and scattered terrain for 28mm gaming over the past couple of years. And these are the last TerrainCrate Kickstarter sort of hitting actual retail for people who weren't in there. So they've been slowly dripping this out in a variety of collections, and they go from the massive Gothic manor down to the teeny tiny spooky woods and everywhere in between. So there's a variety of sort of boxes available which can contain a handful of items for a very specific thing, like the spooky woods. It's just 6 woods, a couple of tree stumps and some toadstools. Or the Gothic manor contains a whole raft of bits and pieces to fully decorate your interiors, from grand pianos down to candelabras and chairs. Or there's a delightful, I'm going to say, anywhere from the 70s back to the 20s sort of house there. You know, you can add your scatter terrain in, which is really handy, especially for games like The Walking Dead. It's obviously ideal for, but even things like bolt action. I picked up a load of this for Walking Dead, for bolt action and that sort of thing, because when you start getting into houses and rooms, or even just going down a street, having, you know, a couple of beds being used as a barricade is more interesting than another set of Jersey barriers, you know, a concrete barricade slung across the road. You can really individualize your tabletop.
I saw someone had done a diorama for bolt action where they'd done the side of an exploded house, and the contents had all like spilled out, and there was like a bathtub upturned on the road they were hiding behind.
That's
and stuff.
awesome.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And the nice thing is with these, I don't know if all of it's out yet. There may still be releasing bits and pieces into the market, but where you see that really nice house set, and then the kitchen and all of that, and it's all beautiful and pristine. There's also exploded versions of those.
Awesome.
So if you are playing World War II or moderns, whatever you happen to be playing about with, you can have the destroyed, damaged versions. You can have the sink is smashed in half with the other half lying at the base of the pedestal, and so you can have whatever you need, really cool. Whether you want to have the house fully furnished and beautiful, or whether you want to show that it's been through a devastating post-apocalypse. And these bits and pieces, it really adds to the tabletop. So you get bored after a while, or at least I do, seeing just the same thing splattered onto the table. You know, I've got fences. Everybody's got fences or hedges, fences and hedges. Just going, you know what, we're going to drag the sofa out and stick it across the street. Bang a couple of wicker baskets there, and away you go.
Yeah. Are they destroyed versions a different product, or do they come as part of the same?
No, they're a different product. So I don't know if it's already out on the.
I don't believe they're on their web store at the moment.
Yeah, because I had a quick look there and they weren't there.
So they're still coming, because I've got those in the box behind me.
I'm not gonna pretend that I'm not gonna be a bit disappointed if that toilet lid doesn't open.
The toilet doesn't open, but it does come with a choice of cisterns, depending whether you've got an early 1900s chain pull up the wall, or if you've got a more modern fancy one.
Be careful what you wish for, though, because you don't always want the toilet lid to open.
No, that's true.
Warren and me were in B&Q one day. It was a hardware store here in the UK. And we were looking at, I don't remember why, we were looking at toilets, trying to change toilets somewhere. And we literally walked over to this one, and Warren started to lift the lid, and the salesman ran over really quick and slammed his foot down on the lid and said, "Oh, don't open that! Don't open that!" I'm like, whoa, what's going on? One kid had a dump in the toilet, and it was just sitting there.
No way.
Yeah, I hadn't cleaned it up or anything. Which is
At least, as Jerry said, at least they used of the facilities.
Didn't
That's a
just
good
drop one
point.
off on the floor.
Yeah.
They've been potty trained, but not which room to be potty trained in.
Yeah, I know. Not when there's working plumbing involved.
They can't be expected to know everything.
No, they've got quite a massive catalogue on them, TerrainCrate, haven't they? I mean, I saw their camping stuff not long ago as well. There's loads of stuff coming out.
Yeah. There's a whole host of stuff. The original set they did was fantasy based, so lots of dungeon crawlery bits and pieces, and it was a mixture of, I'm going to say, softer PVC plastic, so fairly robust, but a lot of the finer pieces, like candles or torture devices or mirrors, tended to warp a bit, which meant you have to break out the hot water to straighten them. The new range, this current crop of TerrainCrate that we're looking at, is still PVC, but much harder, so sort of crisper and less bendy when you get it, meaning you can use it without too much hassle when you
very good.
Get it.
The other thing is, with that bathroom set, is you can change the period depending on what color you paint it. You can paint it green.
Give it an avocado.
You can't paint it avocado because I'm sorry, but it's the worst thing ever.
Well, you could paint it. You could paint it pink. There's been pink ones out in the past.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I think I've seen blue sets. But my favorite is definitely the old green set. Do your old granny's house.
Yeah.
That's it. What were they ever thinking of flipping green?
You don't have to clean it as much. That's
That's it, I think.
That's a tremendously bad idea.
Moving us on quickly. You've taken that too far, Ben.
Oh, aside from dirty baths, I have really enjoyed looking at the new releases coming out on a weekly basis from TT Combat. So last Friday, along with some brand new terrain kits, we saw some new Battlecruisers coming from Dropfleet Commander, and they've been on pre-order all week and they're ready to be released today. So there are 4 new Battlecruisers coming from TT Combat today. So you've got the Senator Battlecruiser, and you can build them in 2 different ways. You can build it as the Senator or the, I want to say, Trimvia class. The Hematite, the Trimvia.
Is this the 2 versions of it here then?
Yes. So if you go onto the TT Combat website, and you can see them next to each other. I've added it in there. There you go.
Yeah,
there
we'll go with Triumvir, I suppose, like
Triumvir. Yeah, Triumvir. And that contains BH.
Which is it? Which one do you want me to click?
Oh, any at all.
Go on the Senator. I like the Senator. The Senator ones are really nice. So that includes a Resistance Battlecruiser. So you can build that over as this. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, I see.
As someone pointed out, the Resistance sure have managed to get a bit of a glow up from their
they've got new sculpts.
Yeah, from their existing range of ramshackle vehicles on the planet surface. But the storyline has moved on. The timeline has moved on. They've managed to reclaim all these ships from the different shipyards and stuff and bring them back together, which is really cool.
Yep.
Those are some stonking ships. I almost put
together
stunning. My fleet.
They are absolutely stunning. That's what's blowing my mind about Dropfleet Commander. And their diversity of releases are so different, because you see so many different kind of vehicle games as such, and they all look fundamentally the same vehicle but slightly different. You can really see the factions between each individual one here, and not just the build, but the different build itself. They look like 2 different ships. It's not just a random little gun put on. It's 2 very much so different ships.
Yeah. The silhouette completely changes whenever they go into the second version,
very
the second form, I suppose.
You can tell that they're still, obviously I think Dave's still working in the background on this and stuff for TT Combat, but you can tell that he's still got his creative edge on, because when you look at all the stuff for the fluff on these, there's normally like a couple of different paragraphs of text of how exactly this fits into the world and how it works, which is very, very Dave. So
it's pretty sweet, because that's not much of a change, but putting on the 2 different sides,
it's enough to
change that profile quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
But these
PHR are still amazing.
These are resin.
Resin.
Yeah. All the big ships resin, all the littler ships plastic.
That is the way. But you've got the Pompeius Battlecruiser, the Shadow Battlecruiser, that contains a Scourge Battlecruiser as well, but as part of either a Shadow or Umber class. Sorry, my voice is going. And the final one that is out this week is the Rome Battlecruiser, and that one is actually my favourite. The Rome Battlecruiser, and it includes, if you scroll down a little bit, Lloyd, a little bit, there, the Rome Battlecruiser. I think that is incredible. Cool. It is very, very cool. So that includes one UCM Battlecruiser, and it's able to be built as a Rome or Venice class.
That's awesome.
Two different ones there. But they are very unique, aren't they?
Yeah. I love that the UCM ships go very much for that kind of look of the Marines and stuff in Halo, where the ship is effectively just a big gun.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Because that would basically be an assault rifle for any alien race in like 32mm or something. But
I don't think I own a battlecruiser.
Have you seen Shiny Object?
Note the word there, yet.
Yeah, because I have battlecruisers for the Scourge and for the post-humanity fleet.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I've got one for UCM.
Next up. Yeah.
Not next up. I'm doing it now.
Well, when he goes and does a pre-order, let's see. It's next in the news.
How the game is played. That is how the game is played.
Yep.
So next up, we're heading over to the folks from Osprey Games, who have done some fantastic work in the board and card game sector. But one of the card games that I am particularly interested in coming up very, very soon at the end of May is Imperium, which comes with two versions of it. So there's Classics and there's also Legends. So Classics contains the races of the Carthaginians, the Celts, the Greeks, the Macedonians, or Macedonians, however you want to say it, Macedamian-donians, Persians, Romans, Scythians, and Vikings. What are you going to say there, Lloyd?
Oh, never mind. Okay. The moment has passed.
Okay.
I was going to drop a joke, but the moment's passed then. You keep
too late.
I blasted past your joke because
it's too late for the big Machians. It's all gone. It's too late.
God. And then Legends comes with the Arthurians, the Utopians, and the Atlanteans, which are your more fantastical mythological races. But you've also then got the Egyptians, Morians, the Minoans, the Olmec, and the Chin as well. Now, it should be noted out, that seems like a lot of factions. That's because every single one of these plays very differently from the others and has their own asymmetrical play style. And you know how much I like asymmetrical gameplay. Mwah. Fantastic. Classics is kind of like your standard set that you can pick up. Both of them play off the same rule set, but Legends includes a few more extra sort of like complicated mechanics here and there for each of the individual factions. So maybe start with Classics and then graduate up to Legends if you really like it. As I say, there's 8 factions per set anyway. So as it stands, there's a lot of replayability within these sets regardless when you sit down to play with 2 to 4 players. Gameplay is based around the idea of sort of deck building and empire building. So if you're familiar with games like Seven Wonders or Dominion and games of that ilk, you're playing in sort of a similar vein to that. So you have your own deck of cards for your individual civilizations, and then there'll be a deck of cards in the center of the table. And as you grow your empire and leave from sort of barbarism through to building empires and that kind of thing, you'll be adding them into your tableau of cards, which will get you points throughout the games. As I say, one of the big things about this is that kind of asymmetrical element to the gameplay. And I love that each of them is going to play very differently. It also means that when you sit down to play the game with your friends, I really like the idea that you could either play it in a couple of different ways. So you could either be like, man, I really love playing as the Celts. I'm always going to play as the Celts. Or you could be like, we're going to mix these up and we're going to deal them out to each person individual on the table. And then you'll get to play with whatever you get. So maybe this time you get Scythians, maybe this time you get Romans, etc. Which I think is going to be very, very cool for replay value. It may look slightly daunting. As I watched the John Gets Games sort of playthrough and tutorial that we've got on the link there as well. And I was kind of scratching my head for a little bit to begin with, but I'm fairly sure it's going to be one of those games where once I get it down on the table myself and I've watched through that video maybe another time, when I'm not doing something else, when I should be working. And if you scroll down.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Let's bring this up.
So John Gets Games is very, very good, but I was watching this video while I was meant to be working. So that's probably why I didn't fully take in what was happening with this. But yeah, this is a very comprehensive run through of the game. It sort of takes you through the first few initial turns as well. So make sure to go and check this out. And it's definitely going to be one of those that I think is going to be a hit with a lot of people. It features that amazing artwork by, as the moniker is, the Miko, as a fantastic artist who has worked for a range of different companies over the last couple of years, done some really nice sort of unique artwork for this that adorns every single one of the cards and each of the different factions as well. I'm really looking forward to this. My friend has already been talking about it non-stop for 2 weeks. So I'm probably going to get a chance to play it myself very, very soon, as we are now able to go and sit around tables and play board games together, which has been very fun.
What I love about Imperium is that if you're playing this as a solo player, you've got a lot of content to get through.
Oh, yeah.
And especially compare that with the Legend set, you've got a lot to get through. So that as a solo player, you've got so much time. And you can put a lot into it as well. Yeah.
And there's the interesting thing with the solo element to that as well is that you obviously play as one of the individual factions, but they've actually put cards in there for like a solo player almost for you to go up against. So you've got someone that's sort of competing against you, even if it's kind of like a card engine, which is really nice.
Well, they've done that before with Roman Rule.
Yes.
Where they have the AI as a distinct personality, because you've got that asymmetric gameplay. So having a standard, this is what you're going to do, doesn't always make sense. So it's nice to see that they've continued that over.
Yeah. But yeah, as I say, going to be out very, very soon, end of the month. You'll be able to pick up both classics and legends. I'm really liking the look of this. Looks like it's going to be a big, meaty card game to dive into, full of amazing artwork, cool mechanics, and that kind of thing as well. It's going to continue the trend of Osprey Games making amazing board and card games. They've done it before in the past with London, one of my favorites, High Society as well, also very good. And of course the Undaunted series as well. So
check that out at John Gets Games on YouTube.
Definitely go and check it out. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a watch it play tutorial in the future as well. So keep an eye out for that too. Yeah.
Moving on, peeps.
Onwards and upwards. Or in this case, onwards and forward in time, away from the ancients and into the 1600s.
Explore the new world. Well, conquer the new world.
Conquer the new world. We have bang sticks. we know when the sky will darken, for God is angry. Wargames Atlantic have been showing off the first painted models for the Conquistador set. That's about to go into tooling. So if people have ever wanted to have massively expanded pants like that of Blackadder, then they can now do this on the tabletop with a whole range of Spaniards.
I dream of expanded pants.
Expanded pants are great. If you want to go full Lord Flashheart, then this
is woof. Yeah.
Very good.
So the set, we haven't been told the exact breakdown of what's going to be in the set yet. It will be multi-part plastic, as is always the case, with enough stuff in there to allow you to make a range of pike, sword, greatsword, muskets, sword and shield. So, you've got various combinations to make tercios. If you want to go that way, if you want to do New World Conquests, they're also working on the Aztec set. In fact, I think the Aztec set is possibly already in tooling, so these may come out.
Coming up quite soon.
Together. But if you want to play stuff that's not in the New World, these will work equally well for Tudor England. So Henry VIII and Elizabeth. You can play the Elizabethan Wars in Ireland. You break out the Dark Age Irish set that they do, would be very good for that. For your Cairns, you just need some gallow glass then with massive Dane axes to smash their heads in. Or you can do Border Reavers if you want to take things up to Scotland around the marches and do the Scots against the English fighting there. These would also be very, very good for that. You might find a few bits and pieces of kit maybe slightly more Spanish based, but the majority of the arms and armament and clothing is equally good for both in and around that. And it's just it's a terrific looking set, and really weird that I say really weird. It's not, because this seems to be the way Wargames Atlantic go. They pick a section of time and space that hasn't been really covered, and then make some really terrific plastic box sets. And again, instead of recovering, we're not getting another set of Swiss pikemen for the umpteenth time. They've gone, no, what if we do Conquistadors instead? You're going, yes. Why has nobody done this before? Exactly. So it's really, really great to see that. I think they're for a company that only founded 3 years ago.
Something crazy like that.
They've just hit their 20th box set released, and they've got I think a dozen due this year. They are hammering them out across a whole range. And
I think they're getting out their Romans and more of their sci-fi in the next 2 weeks, I think.
Late Romans, so Romano-British / Byzantium infantry will be coming out, and the female version of the Eisenkern are coming. So they used to be, I think they were Panzerjägers when they were first done by Mark Mondragon. So
they're also working on a set of, weirdly enough, Landsknecht ogres as well. So
they did an online vote for people to submit ideas for what they want to see as an upcoming kit out. So they've obviously got their list of stuff they are working on, and they went, what do you want us to make next? And it could have been anything fantasy, sci-fi, or historical. And then they hope to get some sort of suggestions. They ended up with, I think, over 1,600 individual unique suggestions.
I feel totally let down. I thought, did I not tell everyone at home to help me out here and go alternative crew? Did I not say that on the show?
You did.
You did. Yeah.
No, what they have said, because the lucky winner, he went for his Landsknecht ogres and is getting them, which is very good, because I have a couple of those from other companies already. So it'd be nice to increase my amount of ogre.
Yeah.
Some people were going off on one because, mine didn't even make it to the list. I suggested blah, blah, blah. And you didn't even put it on the list. Now, what they came back and said was the reason it's not on the list is we're already making that. It's in development, and therefore there's no point in getting people to vote on things. Yeah. So potentially your bird alien crit things may already be
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows?
I imagine they're not, mind you, because hard you, son. But it's another fantastic box set from
as we were saying before the show, we were saying that these would be fantastic for those who were looking to maybe dive back into the old world and do some kind of like Dogs of War, Empire style stuff as well.
Yeah,
so
if you don't want to pay £12 per figure for Palazzo's Lost Legion, then you can certainly do that.
Yeah. No worries about having to hook around on eBay anymore.
Yeah. I think they'd make cracking fantasy armies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'd be good for Kings of War as well.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Empire's Man. Yeah.
And then I was thinking, based on some of the helmet choices, that are in here, if you're going down the fantasy route, I wonder what these are like in terms of size compared to the North Warriors then from Fireforge. Try and round these out with maybe some kit bash, introduce like some alternatives and things just to mix match that up a wee bit.
Possibly a little smaller, but if you give me a second.
Yeah, I think the ones from Fireforge are a bit more, I guess you'd say heroic would be the...
Because this particular set is a lot more heroic in proportions than their historical stuff that comes out of Fireforge. These guys are chunky.
They're quite stocky, aren't they?
I'm just double checking because I know somebody who's put up a picture of scale comparison of their stuff. Yeah.
They have a few boxes on here of them, but I was just wondering, I wonder if you could mix and match some of that just to get some more
gauge of it,
some more individuality on it. Because they've got because I'm awfully tempted by this range, and I'm kind of thinking, ooh, a mash of the two.
Yeah,
might give me a really cool army.
I will say they will be slightly smaller, but there's no reason why you couldn't, because it's not so massively differently scaled.
It's also a fantasy army, so
even if you could just do head swaps or arm swaps or something like that, perhaps just to mix them up a wee bit, just to make your life complicated.
The nice thing is, if you're picking up any of those plastic kits, there are always more than enough bits. I think normally you're looking at like 12 to 13 heads for 5 bodies, 6 bodies kind of thing for Wargames Atlantic. So you will have plenty of spares.
They've also said that there's a secret section of the sprue that hasn't as far as I'm aware, been revealed yet, which is going to have secret things on it that they've not talked about. So they
like one secret bird alien. Right.
I was thinking maybe it'll be laser guns.
Not beyond the realms of possibility.
They do like doing quirky things like that. So
I mean, they do look like a bit of a mob. You could switch out one of those spheres for a pitchfork or a They look like a pretty decent mob as well. So.
Yeah.
On the topic of fantasy armies then, GW have been hard at work bashing out more stuff.
They have, yes.
This is stuff they revealed last Saturday then, is it?
Yep, so this is from their pre-order reveals over the weekend for this weekend. So by the time you're seeing this, you'll only have a few hours left to wait before these arrive on our web store on store.ontabletop in the morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, we're all in grey this week.
Sorry, guys.
So, there we go.
Just turn the saturation down on your TV sets and we'll all be in grey.
Yeah. Am I back to front or am I the right way around?
You're the right way around.
Right way around.
Am I back to front?
on my screen currently.
Am I a real human?
That's like I'm an ambulance. It's all written the wrong way around for me for some reason.
But yes, so we're going to see the release, the pre-orders anyway, for a lot more of the Soulblight Gravelords. So you'll be able to pick up a new start collecting set for the Aristocracy of the Night. So this uses thank
God, it's covered in bat wings. That'll save me some money.
So this goes back to including the Grave Guard, who are one of the older kits. They're back in force here as part of this army. You've also then got the Black Knights as well at the back. The big new miniature in this set is the white on the skeletal steed in the middle, which is available only within this set at this particular moment, but it will be available separately in the future.
I have
the separate releases.
I have pretty much this set.
You bought, because I'm fairly sure you bought the set that came out before this. So.
I did buy the set that came out before this and never built a damn thing because I went off bat wings just as I bought the bloody thing.
Wow.
But so I've saved some money there this weekend. After them squeezing me last weekend because I have a set of those flipping skellies coming to me from store.ontabletop.com.
Yep. You're the only one. Yeah. You're the only one that's left, Ben. I mean, I've got Rush MD. Lloyd's literally going out and buying heads from that. And then you've got Dropfleet. So what's on the cards for you?
I bought Eldar over the weekend. So, yeah, I didn't last long. But yeah, so in addition to the Soulblight Gravelords and that new start collecting set, we've also got the release of some more of their new characters and a couple of new units as well. So you've got Belladama Volga, who is coming in with the kind of all sort of like that Lycan curse theme going on within the Soulblight Gravelords. She's the sort of leader of the family. And legend tells that wolf mount that she is on there was one of her suitors that got turned into a beast for displeasing her back in the old days. So,
Ever since one of you said she looks like Lady Olenna from Game of Thrones, I can't unsee
it. Yes. She survived all the terrifying events of Game of Thrones.
That's what happens when you try and poison a vampire.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stakes through the heart, cut the head off.
Spoilers, people, spoilers.
Oh, God. This then means that you'll be able to put together a properly beastly faction of the Soulblight Gravelords because her family, her lineage, has access to lots of beasts, rules to go around them. So you've got the new Direwolf set that we've seen before, which was revealed through one of the Warhammer previews. We've also got the return of Radukar the Beast, who is ready to rampage across the battlefield. So you can have Belladama at the back, sort of like directing things from behind the ranks of her undead, and then Radukar charging forward, smashing things apart. As someone pointed out, annoyingly to me on Facebook, it looks less like a wolf and more like a chicken man. And now all I can see is chicken man. So there we go.
But this is supposed to be a wolf. It doesn't look like a wolf.
It's like a lycanthrope again, sort of going through.
The problem is, and it's the fact they've coloured the bottom half of his legs brown into ochre brown.
It looks like little chicken feet.
It looks like chicken feet. If it was all grey or all flesh coloured or whatever it is, that would be fine. Yeah. But they chose to do that. Because it's well known fact that wolves have very dark lower legs. You see it all the time.
Well, here, look at that. Gee.
Oh, yeah.
As well as Belladama and Radukar, we've also got two new characters as well. Again, we've seen these previewed a couple of months ago. We've got Kritza, the Rat Prince. So Kritza was one of the nobles underneath Radukar in the cursed city of Ulfenkhan, who didn't fare too well. Radukar fed on him and chucked him into the sewers, where he managed to escape through the pipes and stuff like that. He then managed to subsist down in the darkness on rats and other foul creatures, and has now found his way back to the surface as a vampire once more. And as you might imagine, he may have got some powers from his.
Well, he seems to have got some money because he's got very swanky, very swanky clothes for a guy who's just crawled out of a sewer.
When you're a when you suddenly realise you're one of the undying vampire lords of the night, I'm fairly sure you can basically ask for money.
I like the fact that he's still got his half waders on though.
Exactly.
He's ready to
Yeah, he's been pushing a bunch of those big fat balls around there. So he can draw on the power of rats and turn into a swarm, so he can vanish throughout the battlefield and appear somewhere else, which is really awesome.
That's cool.
Love the kind of theme to that. Then you've also got Lady Annika, the Thirsting Blade, who is another one of their cool characters. She, as you can see, very much here, has sort of lent into her bestial side, and she can draw on that kind of power of the bats and sort of sucking vitality from people, because her weapon, as you might have imagined from her moniker, the Thirsting Blade, will draw the vitae from her enemies and into her own body, so that she can use it to carry on fighting as long as there are things around to kill. So a very interesting looking bestial lord there for you to throw into the mix of things.
I just can't help but think how fabulous she is, because I can just see her hand as a hand fan. That's what
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking she'd be a good Olympic swimmer.
There you go. That too. Yeah. Aerodynamic. Yeah.
Really long and slender with flippers.
Yeah.
You could do with handing that sword over to somebody to get those divots ground out.
Although we see that with a lot of the miniatures from this collection, which is very strange. But apart from Kritza, who managed to fan himself a proper sword.
Well, yeah,
because he's swanky.
You find that when you're Lord of the Rat people.
Exactly.
Just ask Corey Feldman.
Yeah. You've also got a couple of re-releases. So you may have thought that Curse City was dead and gone, but no, the miniatures still exist. And Games Workshop are able to re-release Radukar the Wolf separately, and also Radukar's Court as individual buys. These will not be unstored on tabletop, unfortunately, because you can only direct order them from Games Workshop. But if you are so inclined to pick up the villains, then you can definitely do so.
When you say individual buys, do you mean each model on their own, or what do you mean by that?
So you'll be able to buy Radukar by himself, as you saw above, and then Radukar's Court, which is that set as you see there. So,
all right, so I can't just buy that dude in the middle then?
You can't buy Halgrim. I mean, I have Halgrim, but you're not having him. But yes, you'll be able to buy Radukar. I'm sure you could find him if you looked on eBay, but yeah.
I'll give you a Victor Kruger if you want.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Richter Kruger is one of the coolest models ever made. From Richter Kruger's Cursed Company. That was an amazing set.
I bet you have 60 of them. And I've got,
that's brilliant.
I've got two Krugers.
You've got skeletons and Lloyd doesn't know about it.
Has he got any bat wings on?
No,
he doesn't. He's dressed in Gothic German.
Yeah. And all his skeletons aren't just like humans. There's dwarves and orcs.
What's this guy called?
Richter Kruger.
Richter Kruger.
You're not going to be able to spell it.
CHRICH?
If you put in the Cursed Company Warhammer,
just put in the Cursed Company. You'll find it that way. Yeah, the Lizardmen, Skaven, Dwarf, Goblin, High Elf, and Orc.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't spell it. Cursed
the Cursed Company. Yeah. Cursed Company Warhammer, and you'll find it. So, yeah. But no, really awesome to see these coming back, and I love that they're going down the route of creating lots of different vampire bloodlines again. They kind of seem to have sort of left behind the look of the Strigoi and that kind of thing, although I guess you could say that they've been melded into the Flesh Eater Courts. One point on the Flesh Eater Courts, a lot of people are talking about the fact that Bretonnians have gone missing from Age of Sigmar. No, they haven't. The Flesh Eater Courts are the Bretonnians, if you read their lore. It's very interesting. They are all ghouls that think they are noble knights and ladies and damsels. When in actual fact, they're cannibals that are chewing on the bones of their prey. So
that explains the swanky clothes.
That does explain. He stole that off of your man he just killed, and then that's why it was battle to the death in the sewers with the rats.
Exactly.
Outrageous.
I've given
You
up.
found the cursed company?
I can't find any decent pictures of them. They're all tiny.
Well, they are very old. I've got a white dwarf with them in somewhere, but yeah. So yeah, that's all of the new Undead releases for the Soulblight Gravelords this week. That will give you another head start for those people that want to dive in and play as this new Death faction. From all reports, the battle time is pretty good. So if you're more competitively inclined, you've got some really awesome things to play around with there. On the 40k side of things, in the grim dark future, oh boy, looks like Games Workshop are basically releasing everything that they forgot to release over the last couple of months. So we have some new stuff on the way for the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are getting themselves a new codex. So the Adeptus Mechanicus will have a new codex. We'll have all of the new units that have been unveiled over the past few months, as well as some new bits and pieces here and there, including stratagems and lore and ways to build your armies and theme them in different ways. Really nice new artwork on the front of that. I think it's really cool, really ties into that kind of grim feel of the Adeptus Mechanicus. I love all the gribbly bits and the tentacles and all sorts of things flashing around there. Very, very nice indeed. This all comes in support of a new miniature for the Skitarii Marshal and also a new combat patrol set as well. So the Skitarii Marshal is your slightly more, as you might have imagined, martial character for you to include in your forces. So if you didn't want to go with one of the Magos, then you can go with one of these instead. They have been tweaked and tuned so they are great battlefield commanders. You've also got the new combat patrol, as I was saying, which is a entry point into the game and the world. So these combat patrol sets have been designed so that they can effectively be played straight out of the box. Comes with the HQ choice, as well as some troops and some elites and that kind of thing. There's also that big, huge, heavy I think it's a Dune Walker, I think it's called, which is included in this set. So if you wanted to play around with the game, with the Adeptus Mechanicus straight away in the game, then you'll be able to pick this up and do so, which is very cool. You also might remember Pariah Nexus. That kill team set has now been split up into individual components. So you'll be able to buy the captain with master-crafted heavy bolt rifle. Oh, what a title. So he's new out in his new Gravis armor as well, as you can see there. I think it's called Gravis armor. Justin can correct me somewhere in the comments. It's a Space Marine in cool, fancy new armor. There you go.
I genuinely look at Games Workshop releases and see how many skulls I can spot on things.
Oh, yeah. You can do skull bingo. That's skull
it's
bingo.
Like a drinking game.
Yeah. If you drink it out of a skull, you get extra points. You've also got the new set of heavy intercessors as well. So a lot of people were lamenting the fact that they could only get the heavy intercessors through Pariah Nexus. Well, don't worry, you can now buy them separately alongside their slightly bigger heavy weapons. I quite like the look of this kind of like up armored Space Marine. I particularly love the guy with the big badass heavy bolter in the well at the back. Looks very, very cool indeed. Nice armor. It's armor on top of armor with a guy inside. So Games Workshop are sticking with that for the moment, which is kind of cool. As someone said, when the new Eldar releases are going to come out, we're going to have an Eldar within an Eldar within an Eldar, and it'll be like a Russian doll of Craftworldness. So there we go.
This is what would happen if Pimp My Ride met Games Workshop.
Exactly.
An Eldar and an Eldar.
We've also got a couple of new releases for the Necrons as well. When I say new releases, these are the ones, again, that were available as part of Pariah Nexus. You'll be able to pick up the Necron Chronomancer, which is a very cool-looking miniature. And also, the long-awaited Flayed ones have returned. They are no longer in Finecast. So you'll be able to pick up the Flayed ones individually as plastic models. Still think they look as creepy and weird as they ever did, and I absolutely love them. I'm sure there'll be absolutely no use in the game, but they look great, which is really cool.
I still like my own storyline for the Flayed ones.
Go on.
Yeah.
Which is, the way Terminator, they put a skin around a machine to infiltrate. And I love the idea that the Flayed ones think that's what they're doing. And can't work out why all the Imperium civilians are running away from them. It's like,
why's your face in your chest?
We are other humans like you humans, exactly the same humans.
Why can I not feel love with my long claws?
He just wants a hug.
Yeah.
He just wants a hug. He's just a bit misunderstood, these guys. That's all.
I just wish to love.
That's it. Or it's Edward Scissorhands has had a very bad day.
Yeah. We've also got a couple of new combat patrol sets that have been revealed for this weekend as well. So if you want to dive in and play as either the Space Marines or the Necrons, in addition to these new releases, that you can go and pick up these. Again, very much like the Adeptus Mechanicus set that we saw earlier, these are combat patrol size, so they're sort of set to the right power level to just dive in and start playing combat patrol right away. That doesn't necessarily mean it's balanced. I mean, it is power ratings after all, not points. But a lot of people I know are playing power over points recently anyway, because they find that it, creates those nice casual experiences on the tabletop. So a very good entry point if you're looking to dive in and start playing as Space Marines. As I say, there's also the Necrons as well. So if you wanted to play around with those, we've got some really cool miniatures to tinker with there, which is very cool. Both going for that slightly more sort of like behind enemy lines, sneaky stealth thing, I'd say. Although I would point out the Deathmark guys there can be made entirely as immortals if you want to, which is pretty cool. So yeah, very nice.
It's definitely a way to do it.
Oh yeah, and there's also Lilith Hesperix out as well. Yeah, so there you go.
Oh, Lilith.
Yeah, another release tacked onto the end of their 40k. But again, she's been waiting in the wings for a while. She was previously available as part of one of the sets that included, I think it was Dark Elder, and the Sisters of Battle. So she's now available, and then of course you're going to be able to get the Sisters of Battle new release for that as well, very very soon when they do more stuff for that.
Look, so, there's a new Eldar. It's on her base. It's dead, but that's probably the newest sculpted chest.
That's the most proportionally correct Eldar Guardian that's ever existed for Games Workshop in the last 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to complain about this for a second, right? so here's my old Eldar Guardian that I showed on the XLBS last week.
Yeah.
Here's the Spirit Seer. Look how much bigger he is than his buddy. It's like, I ate my growth powder.
You know, the best part is before that Spirit Seer came out and you were left with the old Warlocks and Farseers, they were about a head shorter than those plastic Guardians.
Yeah.
At no point have they managed to get two consistently sized things out.
No, they haven't, that's quite a thing. But yeah.
It's like ducks on a wall.
Yeah, well, if the size stuff doesn't annoy you, you can get it all. Yeah. It's stored on tabletop.com.
Yeah. Lots of Age of Sigmar, lots of 40k. And also this weekend on Saturday is the announcement of their new Warhammer animation stuff for Hammer and Bolter, because they just love screwing us over and putting out all their news on the weekends when we've already shot the show. So there you go. Yeah. So you'll hear all the things we think about it next week. So
tenderhooks. So 3D time, people. What have we picked out this week? What juicy 3D stuff have we got to be looking at?
Always with the juicy. So this week we are looking at a relatively new Patreon and collection of 3D printed miniatures from GloomyKidMinis, which I thought was a very fun little name. So this is a collection that's available over on My Mini Factory and also starting up on Patreon as well, where you'll be able to pick up a whole bunch of fascinating new miniatures for you to print off at home. Ooh. They're also doing licenses so that you can print them for, the likes of Etsy and that kind of thing as well, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. But the main focus of these is that they're creating a bunch of miniatures that are more or less themed by the idea of sort of D&D and the monsters that you may encounter on your journeys. As you see, they've got two different collections that are sort of set up. So there's a Dark Sun one, which would be very familiar to those people that maybe have dived into D&D and played through that campaign setting in its myriad iterations. So you've got loads of really awesome sort of creatures and strange twisted bugs and all sorts of things for you to play around with.
That'd be perfect for your crit there, Lloyd.
Yes, yeah. You could use these as,
actually.
Yeah. Just put a normal Crute Warrior on the back of that and your sword.
That's it.
Yeah.
So all of them obviously are designed for sort of like 28 and 32 millimeter. You download them and print them off at home and just have a little bit of fun with them. And what I think is quite nice, as you can see what we've seen here, you've got some of them that are kind of like rideable beasts, and then you've got ones without the attached saddles and that kind of thing as well, which is nice because it means that you can sort of play around with the idea of using them as wilderness encounters or maybe as encounters against full groups of NPCs as well that are hunting you down, like guards of desert outposts in the wasteland and that kind of thing as well, which is really nice. All of it's pre-supported as well, so they've done all the hard work for you effectively. Just going to make sure you got enough materials and you put everything into your 3D printer right as you're doing all the cutting and stuff, and and out it comes. So it's as easy as that, says the man who's never 3D printed anything in his life. But there's a really nice little selection of different things. And this is
savage halflings.
Yeah,
I love them. They're great.
So obviously Dark Sun's quite a savage setting in of itself in D&D. So obviously that leans itself towards slightly twisted and strange individuals. So you've got things like the Silt Horrors you can see there, and those savage halflings as we were looking at before. So you've got a really nice collection of fascinating and unique miniatures that will be a little bit different from everything else that your friends might have sitting around the table as you're playing D&D.
Feed me, Seymour.
I like the swirly water around the tentacles.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's a nice touch, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. But yeah, loads of different characters and stuff within that Dark Sun one, as you can see scrolling down through, loads of cool stuff. Again, sort of working into that idea of the almost kind of post-apocalyptic fantasy setting, I guess you'd say, which is, again, very fitting for Dark Sun. But some really nice little miniatures in here that'll be something alternative for you to put on the tabletop. I would quite like the idea of taking models like these, and even if you don't use them as their specific miniatures within a game like D&D, you could use them as alternative versions of familiar monsters. So, like, rather than just put goblins down on the table, put something strange and weird like bug people down, and then they don't know that they're goblins, kind of thing. The players. So you can really play around with it and have a lot of fun with the mechanics and stuff, and sort of play around with ideas of what creatures are like in D&D. Because I think one of the things that really hits a lot of people when it comes to fighting different monsters in Dungeons and Dragons is that you're like, oh, it's an ogre. Because I've fought ogres in 4 editions of D&D, I know how an ogre fights, kind of thing. And you can't always put that to the back of your mind when it comes to diving into a combat. And so having weird and strange miniatures like these, and then either adding them to a template of an existing creature or doing something yourself and making something new, means that you've got lots of scope to put together interesting challenges for your D&D parties and stuff, which is cool. Obviously, you could also use these as the core of your army if you wanted to as well.
I'm really digging this. Vespers, yes.
Lloyd is just a Tau at heart.
Isn't he? Moo, moo, moo.
That'd be pretty cool. And I love this thing here. Where's he go? This jobby here. I'm thinking he just reminds me of some sort of creature from maybe Starship Troopers or something like that.
Just looks like he's saying excellent, does it?
Yeah. And you know what? And this just goes to show just how specious people are. He is just the tavern keeper of the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there he is, just cleaning a pint glass. That's what he's doing in his hand. But people come in, see him, think it's a monster. He gets attacked all the time. It's very aggravating.
It doesn't help that he makes his beer out of his own bodily fluids. But, other than that, that's...
Each to your own. That looks like Rhyhorn. Pokemon down there.
It does look like Rhyhorn, the Pokemon.
Yeah,
Where?
That's the top of Bulbasaur.
Down the bottom.
Yeah.
Who? Where?
On the right-hand side. There you go. Keep going right, all the way to the end.
The Bazrag Boneclaw.
That's the
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Bazrag.
Pokemon.
Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool, though.
Paint him up in pretty colours.
That's just the one collection. Well, where is he? In the collection. I didn't see that.
Very kind of John Cartery as well, which is quite nice.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, very cool. So yeah, on top of that, of course, we've also got the other collection that you can see over on the My Mini Factory, which is Nagas and Murlocs. So for those who are fans of World of Warcraft, I really hope that was all cut out by our mics and our audio gates.
Oh, no, I hope that's
all so yeah, if you want to play around as Murlocs and stuff and dive
fab.
into games, then you can do that as well. Again, would be very, very good as Kuatoa if you want to use them in D&D. Obviously, the Naga is also good for Yuan Ti. Sorry, but
no, I have coffee. I'm fine, thanks, Ben.
God. But you can also use them as the basis of your army in a fantasy game as well, which is.
And the Murlocs, obviously, being tiny, annoying gits who tend to swarm, are perfect to drop in place of things like kobolds or goblins,
exactly.
or, and people won't expect to see them, coming out of a lake. in the middle of the night when they're camped.
And it's the kind of thing where you get the inspiration from the miniatures, and then you just add like one rule onto a unit or like or a monster type, and they're changed completely. So make them amphibian, so they can breathe underwater and that kind of thing. Give them like a slippery skin or something, so they can slip out of combat and stuff.
Poison.
Yeah, give them a wah wah rule where they can all work together. Yeah. So, yeah.
I just love how some of the shields were turtle shells as well.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really nice touch.
Cool.
Shield toads.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, really nice stuff. As I say, I think GloomyKidMinis is sort of more or less starting out when it comes to sort of 3D printing and Patreon and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, as you've seen, there's a fairly, large extent of miniatures within the My Mini Factory page as it is, but nowhere near as much as others. But that doesn't mean that they're not fun to go and pick up and play around with. I mean, Hippokin. Who wouldn't want to mess around with Hippokin? We saw Elephant Warriors last week. Why not Hippo Warriors this week?
Oh, he's got a sword pistol. One pistol sword.
And hippos are the most dangerous of mammals.
Oh, look at him
in Africa they are, yeah.
Look at him in the little vest.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The cannon on his shoulder.
Oh, no, yeah.
Use these as alternative troll bloods in your hordes, maybe. There you go.
They're great.
Got your brigadier generals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so as well as the My Mini Factory, as you can see here, there's also a Patreon page if you want to go over and delve into that. I believe they've done a sort of welcome pack for this, which will allow you to pick up a whole bunch of miniatures just for getting involved and signing up for the first time. But then, as is the case with plenty of these Patreon pages, that was a lot of P's, that was a lot of plosives. You've got lots of input from the community, sort of taking things forward and discussing what's going to be coming up next. You'll also get a package of STL files every month, which will allow you to download stuff and add them into your games. So if you're someone who is deep into D&D and that kind of thing right now, these are pretty damn good for
He's like a rock steady type dude there.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yes, yeah. You just need a bebop.
You need a bebop.
Yeah. Oh, he
lacks definition.
He's been action manned.
Terrace mound. Look at that. That's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So remember to have a look around, not just in the two collections, but actually just scroll on down, because there's loads of stuff that hasn't been in. Loads of stuff that hasn't been put in collections.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Just being that it's just one massive eyeball.
Yeah. That's the Nothic for you.
Hmm.
Yeah. There was one of those in the initial starter set for D&D 5th edition. Was included as an enemy to face. Spoilers for the early edition.
Having flashbacks to Azul Nerub. He clearly loves. There's a quip. Yeah, clearly loves his Warcraft.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of influence from
Get it down and punch it up.
Man, every week it's becoming harder and harder to resist the whole 3D printing side of things.
Just go and open a cupboard and look at everything I have unpainted already and go, that's fine.
And we also have the benefit of Justin, who
do have a team. Justin,
so
that is true.
You can just make him print it all for you, Lloyd. So yeah. I'm surprised you've not been asking Warren to print all the Star Wars things for you, because he's been going wild with all that recently.
That's never going to happen. It'd be in one ear and out the other. Print stuff for Lloyd or print stuff for myself.
Selective hearing. Print stuff for myself.
And then I would feel guilty if he did print it, because it would just go over there onto the pile of shame.
Yeah. And
that's
a pillar of pride.
That's it.
Pillar of pride.
Where my box of Games Workshop stuff is going this weekend as soon as it arrives. It's going one of these tubs, never to be seen again. I don't know why I bought it. They suckered me in again. Can't believe it. At stored.ontabletop.com just got suckered in. Can't believe it.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at ontabletop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Moving on from 3D printing is the shiz. We also have some awesome Kickstarters to check out, starting with one from Free Company, which is Eldfall Chronicles, which we've been taking a little bit of a closer look at, Jerry, I believe.
Yeah, it's a fascinating little setup they've got going. It's a fantasy skirmish game. for multiple players. But the interesting thing behind it for me is it very much feels like a Fantasy Infinity, where whenever you activate somebody, you've always got to be aware of where other things are on the table because they can react to your activation. And so you get this really in-depth gameplay. It's D20 based, and currently they have sort of 4 factions that they're working towards with the funding. Each faction will contain 3 miniatures, but you're playing low model count games, sort of 3 to 5 miniatures per side, which means that you can really get in depth with the rules and how gameplay actually affects things. So you've got a lot of sort of status effects, like being able to crouch and creep up and stealth behind people, which is fascinating. One of the nice things they've done when they've been sort of generating the game itself is they have really nice stat cards that compile everything together, because I know one of the problems whenever you've got a very intricate skirmish system like this with layers of rules and abilities is that it can result in a lot of book flicking. But they've got these really nice character cards that have all of the stats down one side and then have the weapons attached to it. And so where it says, a weapon's power is equal to your toughness, then you just look to the right of the card and see the toughness. Or if you're looking for the number of strikes, some weapons will be based on a set number of strikes, so a set number of attacks per turn. Other ones will be based on the stamina of the wielder. And again, if it says stamina, you just look. If it says strike 2, then you just know you've got 2 dice. So it means you're not having a ton of additional rules scattered throughout various places. It's all there for you already. And the 4 factions that they've built up are, I suppose, very anime-esque is probably the best way to look at them. Because you've got the Sand Kingdom, the Coalition. There's one of the Kickstarter exclusives, I believe she is, for this.
We might have some minis that could possibly cut in here, some painted ones that might be arriving. I'm saying might because I'm not sure if they'll be in the edit, but if you're seeing them, they're in the edit.
So hopefully we'll be seeing the Hellion League and the Empire of Suga winging the way to us. But as you can see, the core basis of the game is this fantasy world that they've developed, and there are 2 ways to play it. So you can play a standard player versus player game. You get your faction, I have my faction, and we go off against each other. But then there's also a solo or co-op story-driven sort of player versus environment game, which is, at the moment, they've only a couple of test scenarios done for it, but the plan is to expand this into like a narrative campaign, so every game will then impact the next game depending on how well you get in or out of these various things as you go along. And you can see like the Colossus is a massive figure. In fact, I think Angel Heraldez has just posted the painted Colossus on his Facebook page this week, and it's amazing looking. So the monsters are coming soon. So far, we've only really seen the renders, except the Angel Colossus, but the actual core infantry figures that they have are great. And things like the Earth Elemental is a big beastie that can come and club your face in, but the Golem could be a little beastie, but also one of the caster abilities is to summon, so you can summon imps, creatures, summon gargoyles, summon golems to come and fight with you. So even though you're playing like a 3 to 5 troop or warband game, you could end up with an additional figure.
You can Pokemon it up.
You can bring extra stuff with you if you're lucky, if you get the cast off at the start of the game and bring it with you that way. It's really fascinating to see this sort of game develop. They've a really active Discord community, and
that's great.
The beta rules are up and available for people to get in and have a look and tinker around with and see if they can break them so they can be fixed before they actually get around to printing, because that's always important when people get a beta rule set, is to give constructive feedback, not just the I don't like ... but go, this we found is overpowered, or this clashes with this, because there are interesting mechanics within the game, like stratagems. So you have a strategy phase at the start where your leader can do certain things, and it depends on the build-up and makeup of your troop, which can be one of these 4 factions or mercenaries. And the mercenaries don't get the strategy interactions that the actual faction members will get. So you can bring a mercenary who's a bit tougher or a bit better, but the offset of that is they won't get whatever the troops' abilities are every turn, because they're not one of that faction. They've just been brought along. And I like how they're doing the campaign. I mean, they haven't funded yet, but they're very close. But there's still got weeks to go.
Yeah.
But they have this nice mix of stretch goals being social media driven type things, and also monetary ones that they would normally have. So the one where one of the Empire of Soga characters, if they hit 2,000 likes on face page, and they're about 1,700-ish at the moment, then that will be unlocked as a mercenary then.
That's cool.
So some of the things are just ways to open up and expand the makeup of your war bands, so you're not just as restricted by factions, and it gives a bit more build to the initial sort of games as well. You've paused, Lloyd, for a snigger? No.
I'm just enjoying this artwork because it looks weird. This particular bit of artwork.
Yeah.
It looks like the Task Mage Explorer is going into battle with a baby bump. just here, I'm not.
It does, yeah. I can't unsee that.
Just whatever way that's.
Yeah.
Just whatever way that's come out.
No. You do you.
The thing that was really,
see, it's a thigh down here.
It's a thigh. Yeah.
The thing that I was really impressed with this in particular, after looking through this and sort of in the run-up to it over the last couple of months, has been kind of the depth of, and the process that they've gone into for the game. Like, it's been definitely one of those ones where, as you say, I mean, they've worked on the beta rules, but they have lots of people playtesting this all the time. I think that's very important for a game which is going to have those kind of very unique interactions between a small group of individuals.
Yeah.
It's not like you're, putting, masses of units against another where, handfuls of things are going off the board. You need to make sure that everything is very nuanced and balanced, I think, when you come into games like this. And also, like, they've done lots of work on the lore and the background to make sure everything feels nice and asymmetrical and different and unique as well. So if you are interested in this and you're over on Tabletop at the moment, you can check out their Game Hub, or we've got a couple of articles that they put together about kind of like the core gameplay mechanics and the different factions as well. And then, of course, you can come and check out the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth having a look at. I want to say Beer and Pretzels.
Beer and Pretzels.
YouTube channel has done a couple of quick Let's Plays for the PvP and PvE version. So you can, they're like 15, 20 minutes long. So you can see kind of how the mechanics work. So it's a D20 based system. So there's a lot of flexibility in there, but I like it. I like what they're doing.
And here is a link to the rules.
So you can download the rules. You can check out all their social profiles and everything as well.
If you click that, you will come on over here and you can actually get a gander at what's going on. Ooh.
It's really nice artwork as well.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly a labor of love for them. That's not something that's been sort of quickly thrashed together.
What
I like
size
the fact that,
did you say this were, Jerry?
I think they're aiming for 35 mil.
There you go.
There's the page.
Perfect time. Oh, brilliant.
So it's very heroically proportioned, we shall say. So bear that in mind.
Yeah, so I think anybody who's currently playing anything vaguely Games Workshop-ish will be of the similar size, that sort of size. But these are, from what I've seen of the renders and the miniatures people have been showing off, they're a bit sleeker. They may be the same height, but they don't have huge ham hands and massive heads. So they look like humans.
Again, going for that kind of more anime manga vibe, which is cool. So
some interesting bits and pieces. So what were you going to say? Sorry.
It's a well-rounded out Kickstarter.
Oh yeah,
very much so.
Nice minis, good layouts to the rules. Even though, like, this is just the betas and cracking artwork to go along with it.
Amazing.
And there's thing because it is a skirmish base. You have that. I know not everybody likes it in RPGs, but encumbrance. So you can't just go, I'm going to put all of the equipment on this person. This person can't move. So you have to, whenever you're setting your warband together and you're getting them sort of set up, you're going, okay, well, I can give this person a shield and a massive weapon, but then they're partly slowed down because they've got a huge weapon, and also whenever they go to strike, they're opening themselves up, so they're not as well protected, so the shield kind of is negated. Whereas if you give them a sword and board, as they say, or a shorter ranged weapon that means you have to be up close and in base to base, then it means the shield becomes more effective and you're using it like you should, and also you can slam people in the face with it, which is always good.
That's cool.
I do like shield bash.
Yeah, I think they were saying that they'd done a lot of work to make it feel like it actually was like a clash of arms between two individuals, where it's like a back and forth and that kind of thing, which is nice. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really, really interesting little mechanics and sort of combinations in there as well. So you've got that whole sort of synergy basis of your warband, where you can break it to go for somebody who's bigger and going to do more damage, but you lose the synergies then of having like a pure faction would bring you. And just because you can get in and attack 15 times in a turn with your swashbuckling blade master, you may discover that you're only ever going to wound on a 1, a D20, but because they're not designed to take on massive armored targets, so you have to consider what you're going to be up against as well. I have to look more into the PvE side because it is like an AI mechanic.
That's right.
I haven't dove into that as much yet, but certainly the PvP side seems to be nailed on fairly well at the moment. So yeah.
See, that's what I'm quite intrigued by, that side of things, because it seems like literally, as Lloyd was saying about it's all coming together and being fully rounded. The lore and backstory in this seems to be quite implemented into all the factions, and that's fantastic. And hearing more about the PvE side of things, it's definitely.
There's one that, to give you a very rough idea, because like I say, I haven't really got into the PvE side yet, but in Stargrave / Frostgrave, if a wandering monster can't see anybody, if nobody's in the line of sight, then they'll go randomly. In this, you have if you're moving, you've got 360 arc, but you have a 180 degree line of sight to begin with. And in this, if a monster can't see anybody, when it activates, the first thing it does is turn around in case somebody's sneaking up behind them. So you'll never get the position where somebody is just right behind you and it just doesn't notice as you continually stab it in the back of the neck, hoping to kill it. It goes, can't see anybody there. Are you there? Oh, you were there. Mash. So there's some interest, because I haven't seen that before. Generally, people have these 360 degree arcs, so it never becomes a factor. But at the same time, I prefer the fact that you can attempt to sneak up in your own turn using stealth and shrouded and abilities and all the rest. But if you do fail to get up in time, then there's always the possibility they'll turn around and ruffle stomp you.
Nice.
And as you can see here, there's quite a few sort of rules breakdowns and let's plays and stuff that is already on the internet for it. So if you're interested, just scroll on down on the Kickstarter page and you'll find these videos.
So the beer and pretzel ones are both English and German, and then they played a game themselves on Tabletop Simulator with the actual design team. Although obviously Tabletop Simulator is a bit clunkier because it's Tabletop Simulator. It's hard to maneuver things in there, but they both gave a very good idea of how the game plays through. So yeah, I like it.
Yes.
Sweet. Here's the team. Not a very big team to be behind such a good project.
Yeah.
I'd say they seem like they've taken their time and really thought about it, which is very important. So,
So 27 days to go, very close to being funded. I'd be very surprised if they didn't hit that funding goal very quickly based on what we've been looking at there. Yeah, absolutely. Right, peeps, to round us out, we have one more Kickstarter.
We do, yeah. So we're looking to PSC Games, who are back on Kickstarter, this time with a licensed board game for Prison Architect Cardboard County Penitentiary.
I think we looked at this before. Was it news or something? I think I remember.
Did. We looked at it in the news, little Lloyd.
We did indeed.
It's just not getting any better, is it?
No, it's not. But in this game, you're going to play as no, I'm going to stop it now. Okay. Right. So you play as a warden who is looking to set up the best prison in Cardboard County.
Oh, it was a warden impression. Oh.
Yeah. I was being a crazy American warden. So can't you tell I roleplay all the time? I see. But anyway, yeah. So this is a game for 1 to 4 players, which involves a little bit of a mix between bidding mechanics and tile laying as well. It's based on the hit PC game by Paradox, which you will no doubt know from playing on that strategy game digitally, where you are trying to set up a prison and try and make it the best that you can. In this game, they sort of tweak things a little bit, where obviously you're all competing against each other, and sort of the sort of way that rounds are broken down is at the start of the turn, you'll get to bid on different elements of the prison for you to add into your own tableau. So you can start up with...
What am I looking at here? Is this the video game that I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can bid for elements on the tabletop and then use them in your own tableau, as I was saying. So you could bid for rooms that you can add. So there could be cells. It could be places for them to go and dive into recreational activities and that kind of thing as well. It could be bathrooms, kitchens, and that kind of stuff. You can bid for staff that you can use then to look after the prisoners in your facility. Or you could also bid for policies which you can use in order to get additional victory points and stuff and certain set plays into action. Then once you've bid for these elements, you put them down together in your tableau and you build up the prison, as you might have imagined, in Prison Architect. And then you then have to make some choices. So you could go for the sort of, well, there are a couple of different routes you could go for. So you could go for low-risk prisoners, which you're trying to rehabilitate and get back out into society. Or you can take on the high-risk prisoners, trying to make them slightly more comfortable, look after their well-being and all that kind of thing, and also make sure that they don't break out or start riots and all that kind of stuff as well. This is all done through looking towards sort of key tenets that are set out by the prison board that you'll have to try and fulfill in order to get yourself the victory points that you need. You can see this kind of process of the tile laying and stuff, as you can see there on the tabletop. I quite like tile laying games as it is. So this one already appeals to me. And it's also Prison Architect, which I've played quite a lot of. So it also quite appeals to me. I also like the idea of having to balance different kind of economical elements in this too. Just
start a massive tent. Place in the middle of the desert.
Yes,
just do that now.
No, unfortunately not. I think the board would frown on that. But as I say, works for between 1 to 4 players. So they've got a nice player count for this one. The rules are available for you to go and check out over on their Kickstarter as it stands. They've got a couple of different pledge levels, so you can dive in and pick up sort of like a basic pledge level, which comes with, I believe actually all the pledge levels come with the main game and a couple of expansions, but you can then add on additional bits and pieces. And I believe there's also codes for the video game, the PC game as well, if you want to pick that up too. And they're also doing additional packs. They're doing stretch goals that will look to add like funky new screen printed I think it's heat printed meeples and that kind of thing as well, which is really awesome.
That's cool.
So if you like meeples like me, you can play around with that as well, which is nice.
Do the box tidy as well is handy.
Yes, yeah.
That's an add-on that more board game people should really think about adding.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what's really interesting for me with this one is I've played it anyway. I played it on PC. And I'm really seeing this being translated over to a board game. It's fundamentally the same game, but it's not, if that makes sense. This
is where it gets weird for me, though. You're playing a board game version of the video game, but you can play it
digitally.
You can play Inception. Yeah.
But no, I really like the look of this. And another thing that should be pointed out, and is something that the designers talked about as well, is that obviously, in essence, you're running a prison, which is full of prisoners. But they have talked to sort of like a lot of advice, and I believe someone who was on their team was actually part of, had been in prison, is now out and talking about rehabilitation and that kind of thing. So it's as much as them talking about answering questions of the incarceration system and that kind of thing. Did you say
that you can get the rules somewhere on the Kickstarter?
Yes, there should be a rules download somewhere. I did find it earlier.
Somewhere
wasn't that how to play? But
no, there's a specific like download the beta rules because. But yeah, it is there because I did see it during the week when I was looking through this. Maybe they've removed it at the time I was filming this, but it was definitely there when I was looking at it. But yeah, so as I say, they're mixing together a little bit of the fun with also sort of answering a couple of questions as well, and maybe bring up some interesting talking points with your group as well. As you can see, there's the big they've got a disclaimer at the front there where they talk about all that. But at its heart, just a nice little bit of fun, as I say, with Prison Architect. Really, really good PC strategy game. And I think it's one that was ripe for translation into a board game version of it. You don't often need board game translations from video games, but I think this and I think the City Skylines version of the tabletop game was also pretty cool as well. So yeah, I think strategy definitely works when translated over in this manner.
100%.
And, yeah, very cool. So yeah. Go and check that out if you want. I think there's about 17 days left from the time of you seeing this. So, yeah.
Just keep screaming, this isn't Norway, and pack more people in.
Yeah, as you can see, not funded yet, but still got plenty of time left on the campaign if you want to go and get involved and check it out. So, yeah.
Right, peeps, so that wraps us up. Get ready for the XLBS. It'll be coming at you on Sunday if you're a Cult of Games member.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a cultist, come on over to OnTableTop.com and sign up for a free trial. It's a no-brainer. You can jump in and you can see our beautiful mugs on Sundays as well as we talk about hobby and things that are on our mind. Like last week, we were talking about people not really caring about the quality of the rules in a game. Yep. They were more concerned about like the sort of the aesthetics of it and the general settings and stuff.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a debate about that. But until next week, oh yes, get your comments in for that Team Yankee prize. Don't forget about that.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
No.
But until next week, happy gaming, peeps.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.